Welcome to our another Elden Ring video guide, and for today we are covering top 10 best weapons in the game you should not miss. Similar to our today's guide, we also did top 16 best strength weapons in Elden Ring, and if you have not watched that video before, then we highly recommend you click on the pop-up above and watch our top 16 best strength weapons in Elden Ring video. As always, if you like our videos and have been helpful for you in your journey of becoming Elden Lord, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel and keep us supporting for more future content. Our 10 best dex weapons video will showcases some of the best dexterity weapons that we think are unparalleled in the game, and therefore we have showcased them in our video. Other than that, we will also share the stat requirements of wielding these best dexterity weapons, how to get them, and have also showcased the basic, heavy movesets along with their default unique Ashes of War. So, continue watching this video and learn the top 10 best dexterity weapons in Elden Ring. Starting off with the first best dexterity weapon in our video is the Hand of MALENIA. We think this is by far the top tier dex weapon in Elden Ring that not only is excellent in PvE segment of the game but also in PvP as well. Also, this is a very mid to late game weapon in the game, and that is also one of the many reasons why the weapon has a massive dexterity requirement of 48 level. This also entails that the Hand of MALENIA is a pure dex weapon in the game besides being a katana, as most katanas in the game are naturally excellent dex weapons already. The Hand of MALENIA scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for samurai build and bleed builds. The best aspect of this dex weapon is the waterfowl dance weapon art. Players can perform a series of one-footed leaps in the manner of a waterfowl to unleash a swift yet graceful slashing combo. Repeated inputs allow for up to 2 follow-up attacks. The weapon art in PvE is very effective in damaging the large-sized bosses and enemies, while in PvP this attack just makes it hard for online invaders to escape or dodge. The second best dexterity weapon in our list is not only a top-tier dex weapon but also happens to be one of the legendary armaments in Elden Ring. Bolt of GRANSAX is a spear, and it scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for its additional lightning damage. Similar to the Hand of MALENIA, Bolt of GRANSAX 2 has a higher dex requirement of 40. However, Hand of MALENIA is acquired after defeating MALENIA, whereas Bolt of GRANSAX can be found in Leyndell, royal capital. Since this dex weapon is a spear, players can use it with a shield and attack enemies while staying behind the cover of shield. This is one of the many reasons spear weapons offer the best defense playstyle as well. The best part of Bolt of GRANSAX spear is the ancient lightning spear. This weapon cannot be infused with Ashes of War or buffed with magic or consumables. However, equipping Shard of Alexander and Godfrey icon will significantly increase the skill damage of Bolt of GRANSAX. While doing the weapon art attack, players imbue the armament with the ancient dragon's red lightning, then throw it as a spear. This skill attack can also be charged to increase its power, and if you are running with a pure dexterity build then you can deal massive amount of damage with at least 2k damage per hit and one-shot most enemies in the game using the ancient lightning spear weapon skill. We will be making a separate build guide based on Bolt of GRANSAX as the go-to weapon for killing enemies and bosses, and we will showcase the best talismans to equip and increase the weapon's damage significantly. Make sure you stick with us for future build videos. Next up we have Rivers of Blood Katana as our third best dexterity weapon in Elden Ring. This is also a mid to late game katana in the game, and to acquire it you will first need to reach mountain tops of the Giants area in Elden Ring. If you have not acquired Rivers of Blood yet, then make sure you watch our video available in the prompt above. This dex weapon slightly inclines towards arcane department as well, so you will need to level up the arcane stat to at least level 20, otherwise you will not be able to wield Rivers of Blood weapon properly. This katana scales primarily with strength, dexterity, and arcane and is an excellent weapon for mid-range combat, and it is capable of inflicting both slash and pierce attacks. Rivers of Blood had scaling issues since launch, but in patch 1.03 the scaling was fixed and it made this weapon as a go-to one to beat many tough bosses including MALENIA. The star of the show here is of course Corpse Piler weapon art of Rivers of Blood. By using the default Ashes of War on this katana, the weapon forms a blade of cursed blood for repeated, interweaving successive attacks. Players can also follow up with an additional input for further successive attacks, and doing so increases the blood loss build-up much faster than most bleed weapons in Elden Ring. The Rivers of Blood weapon can be found at the Church of Repose. Once you reach there you will be invaded by Bloody Finger Okina, and defeating this invader will reward you Rivers of Blood and Okina Mask. Next up in our the best dex weapons in Elden Ring list is the REDUVIA dagger. This weapon scales with strength, dexterity, and arcane, and it is a good weapon for melee users who like to backstab enemies but also want some ranged attacks. REDUVIA dagger is carried by the noble servants of the Lord of Blood, and players can obtain this dagger very early in the game by defeating Bloody Finger Neregus. This invader will invade you when you visit ravine leading northeast from Agheel Lake toward Murkwater Catacombs. Similar to Rivers of Blood, REDUVIA dagger 2 has little inclination towards the arcane department, and you will need at least 13 arcane, 13 dex and 5 strength to wield this dagger properly. The star of the show for this dagger is its REDUVIA Blood Blade weapon art. After launching the skill attack, the weapon slashes with the wicked dagger, transforming its never-drying bloodstains into airborne blood blades that cause blood loss. Players can also fire it in rapid succession for back-to-back blood loss buildup and physical damage. We will make a separate guide regarding a full-blown build centered around REDUVIA dagger, and if you want to learn more about it then you can read our guide on the website, and we've mentioned the link in the video's description. The next dex weapon in our list is the GODSKIN Peeler. This weapon scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for melee users but requires a high dexterity character. To wield GODSKIN Peeler properly, you will need to have at least 22 dexterity and 17 strength. The GODSKIN Peeler weapon can be acquired after defeating GODSKIN Apostle boss located at Windmill Village of the Altus Plateau. If you fancy the playstyle of twin blades then you would love to have GODSKIN Peeler as your go-to weapon in Elden Ring, because this weapon can be infused with Ashes of War and buffed with magic. Another reason to use GODSKIN Peeler as your go-to twin blade in the game is the unique Ashes of War called Black Flame Tornado. When triggered, the character spins armament overhead and then plunges it into the ground to summon a raging vortex of black flames. You can hold the weapon skill button to create an initial flame tornado while spinning the armament for a higher devastating blow. This Ashes of War can be later acquired after defeating the GODSKIN duo boss located inside the Dragon Temple area. The next dex weapon is yet again another katana, but this is by far the longest katana in Elden Ring and is also the reason why it is one of the best dexterity weapons. The NAGAKIBA scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for dealing an extra blood loss effect on top of the initial physical damage this weapon causes. To wield this weapon properly, you will need to have at least level 22 dexterity and 18 strength. NAGAKIBA is signature weapon of Yura, Hunter of Bloody Fingers, and is reminiscent of a reinforced spear as its imposing length can be put to good use with powerful thrusting attacks. The default Ashes of War is similar to Uchigatana and Moonveil, but the long blade changes the playstyle. Activating the weapon skill will allow the player to sheath the blade, holding it at the hip in a composed stance and follow up with a normal or strong attack to perform a swift slash attack. Players can get NAGAKIBA as it drops by Bloody Finger Hunter Yura to the north of Murkwater Cave or in his camp near Seaside Ruins Site of Grace. The weapon can also be obtained by completing Bloody Finger Hunter Yura's questline at the Second Church of Marika, allowing you to also obtain Eleonora's Pole Blade and Purifying Crystal Tear. If killed by the Zamor Ruins Site of Grace, you can loot the Ronin armor set from him, and the weapon will be found in his usual spot just north of Murkwater Cave, or it can be found south of the Dragon Burnt Ruins under the broken structure. Next up in our best dex weapons Elden Ring list is the Dragonscale Blade. This weapon scales primarily with strength and dexterity, and is a good weapon for slash and pierce damage. To wield this weapon properly in the game, you will need to have at least 20 dexterity and 12 strength, otherwise the unique Ashes of War on this katana will not trigger its effects. To obtain Dragonscale Blade in Elden Ring, you will need to defeat Dragonkin Soldier in the Lake of Rot. For the most part, the basic and heavy attacks are similar to most katanas in Elden Ring. However, the Ice Lightning Sword Ashes of War is something that makes it one of the best dex weapons in Elden Ring. By triggering the weapon art, the blade calls down a bolt of ice lightning into the blade and bring it down upon a foe, and the ice lightning effect will persist for a while, allowing you to do physical damage as well as ice lightning as well. This skill consists of 3 trigger attacks: Stomp, Slash, then Lightning Bolt, then coats the blade with the ice lightning effect. Players can further buff the weapon art damage by equipping Shard of Alexander and Lightning Scorpion Charm Talismans along with consuming the Lightning Shrouding Crack tier in Flask of Wondrous Physique. Coming up next, best dex weapon in our list is the Hook Claws. The Hook Claws scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for dealing an extra blood loss effect on top of the initial physical damage this weapon causes. It's a lightweight piece and can be equipped on both hands. To properly wield this weapon, you will need to have at least 14 dexterity and 8 strength. The Hook Claws can be found at Stormvale Castle. Once you are there, take the secret back entrance of the castle as mentioned by Gatekeeper Gostock and you'll find the weapon by looting it off a corpse found at the first level of the wine cellar. The body is resting against the left side corner of the wall. If you still can't find Hook Claws, then click on the pop-up banner above and watch our Hook Claws location video. Another reason why Hook Claws is an excellent dex weapon in Elden Ring is because of the quickstep weapon skill that comes by default on this weapon. Once triggered, players can perform a quickstep maneuver that allows for circling around lock-on targets, which is excellent to get out of harm's way and is helpful during boss fights. If you fancy curved greatswords, then you will love Bloodhound's FANG, as this is also an excellent dex weapon in Elden Ring. The weapon scales primarily with strength and dexterity, and is a good weapon to perform brutal melee attacks against enemies and immediately take distance from them. Moreover, you will need to have at least 17 dexterity and 18 strength, which is decent stat requirements, and it also indicates that this is an early weapon in the game that strength or dexterity playstyle players will have no problem in wielding it. In order to obtain Bloodhound's FANG, you will need to defeat the Bloodhound Knight Darrowil located in Limgrave. Bloodhound's Finesse is the default weapon art on this dex curved greatsword, which allows the player to slash upwards with the Bloodhound's FANG and using the momentum of the strike to perform a backward somersault and gain some distance from foes. Players can also follow up with a strong attack to perform the Bloodhound's step attack. The thing that makes Bloodhound's FANG an amazing dexterity weapon in the game is its weapon art. This unique weapon art is only available on this weapon and is not found as an Ash of War to use on any other weapon in Elden Ring. Lastly, Uchigatana is our final pick when it comes to listing the best dex weapons in Elden Ring. This weapon scales primarily with strength and dexterity and is a good weapon for piercing and slash damage in combat. To wield this weapon properly, you will need 15 dexterity and 11 strength, which is not a lot, and you will easily have these character stats if you are playing as a dex or strength build character in the game. The samurai starting class gets Uchigatana as the go-to weapon, and if you are not playing as samurai, then you can get Uchigatana from the death-touched catacombs in Stormhill, Limgrave. You need to turn the lever down in order to unlock the door of one of the previous halls. You will find the Uchigatana on a dead body hanging over the edge of the platform. The light attack from the weapon skill Unsheath deals 15 poise damage, while the strong attack variant deals 30 poise damage. Other than that, the weapon art of Uchigatana called Unsheath allows the player to sheath blade, holding it at the hip in a composed stance, and then follow up with a normal or strong attack to perform a swift slash attack. This has been our best dex weapon picks so far in Elden Ring, as we have tried and tested all 10 of the weapons on bosses and some of the toughest enemies such as knights, tree sentinels, and knights cavalry. This is not by any means an absolute list containing best dex weapons, but the list reflects what we think are the top tier dexterity armaments in Elden Ring. Other than these 10 weapons, there are a few more weapons that deserve the praise of being some of the best dex weapons to try. So, here are a few more dex weapons if you fancy this playstyle in Elden Ring. That is pretty much everything you need to know about top 10 best dexterity weapons in Elden Ring. We will continue making more builds, locations and best weapons guide. Until then, if you found our video helpful, then a like and subscribe will be super appreciated.